The Seven-Year War established the British as the major European power in colonial and naval affairs while hurting French prestige and exposing weaknesses in the French government. The Seven-Year War was a European conflict that involved every major European power at the time. Europe was split into two coalitions, one led by Britain and the other by France. Other powers were involved, but since this video is about the French and British conflict, the other parts of the war will be mentioned marginally. Although France and Britain are two relatively small countries, the war became international with conflicts and colonies all over the world. The North American part of the conflict is called the French-Indian War. The Seven-Year War took place from 1755 to 1764, and since historians can't count, they named it the Seven-Year War. The Seven-Year War took place during the first stage of colonialization, with both Britain and France having sizable empires in the Americas. This shaped the form the war took, with colonies supported by the home country fighting overseas. The economic system of the time period was mercantilism. Mercantilist countries closely monitored trade and prevented their colonies from trading with other countries. Using this methodology, countries tried to obtain land to produce raw materials to send back to the home country, then sell finished products back to the colonies. This led to conflict between the neighboring French and British colonies in North America. The British settlers were trying to expand into the French-controlled Ohio River Valley, which started the Seven-Year War. Britain did not fight the beginning of the war particularly well. The war was underfunded and did not draw much attention back home in Britain. France was joined by a number of allies, including Austria, which is originally an ally of Britain. The tide started to turn when William Pitt took control of the English government and decided the Seven-Year War was essential for establishing Britain as the world's leading power. Pitt borrowed heavily to finance the war and established a deal with Prussia to fight with British support on the continent. Another reason the British won was their superior navy. This naval advantage allowed them to blockade French ports and stop the French from reinforcing their troops in North America. The British government also had very strong centralized goals during the conflict. The British focused almost all their attention on naval and colonial battles and had Prussia fight the war on the continent for them. France, on the other hand, was deeply divided over whether to focus on continental battles or to focus on fighting the British overseas in North America. Although Britain won the war, they accumulated large amounts of debt while fighting it. This debt was paid off through taxing the colonies, which contributed to the American Revolutionary War. Britain emerged as the world's leading colonial power and world leader, with acquisitions in North America, including all of the French colonies. France also struggled financially after the war. The national debt accumulated in the Seven-Year War led to the financial crisis preceding the French Revolution. France's colonial empire was also largely reduced with the loss of all its North American colonies. The war also hurt the French government's popularity. They accumulated large amounts of debt and lost, which lowered the people's opinion of the king at the time, Louis XV. The Seven-Year War was a war fueled by mercantilist ambitions and the belief that colonies were essential for economic prosperity. Colonies were both a source of raw materials and a market for finished goods. British attempts to expand their colonial empire at the cost of the French was the immediate cause of the Seven-Year War, as British settlers attempted to spread into the Ohio River Valley. In summary, the Seven-Year War was fueled by mercantilist ambitions and greatly expanded the British colonial empire. Both countries went into debt, which led to problems before the end of the century. The administration of William Pitt and the priority he gave the war led to a British victory and a French loss.